session of the FM Mastercraft. Not FM Mastercraft, FM Launch Hour, right? So this is a free series we do every Thursday by 1 p.m. And my name is Paul Erubami, the MD of Max-Migold Limited and the head of faculty of the Max-Migold Training Center. Another Thursday, we'll come to you again with this weekly program of knowledge sharing, which I hope you would all participate in and enjoy and take home some lessons and notes for improvements in your lives, in your careers, workplace interactions, whatever we do. Okay. Before I jump into today's topic is more about people, how to manage people, how to influence people, how to be that especially successful facility manager or anybody in any industry, because what we try to do here is to cater for the entire workplace. So even if you are not a facility manager or not even thinking about becoming a facility manager, the launch hour will definitely be an opportunity for you to learn some new skills and gain grounds and improvements in your life and your jobs. Okay. So before I jump into the topic of today, I just want to remind us that the FM Mastercraft Diploma, our flagship training program, starts on the 12th of May. That's just a few days away. So if you're still thinking of being a part of it, now is the time. If you have friends, relatives, colleagues that have, expressed interest in Mastercraft, please point them through now, because now is the time for us to firm up the admission for everyone taking the FM Mastercraft class 24, starting on May the 12th. Okay, so it's an exciting time for us. What we have tried to do over the last few months is to provide a series of, discounts that are tied to early bird payments. We still have 10% running, and that will become 5% by the end of the month. So if you want to take advantage of this 10%, please go ahead and make your payment now. Don't forget that we are still running a program where you pay instrumentally for 3 months. So you pay a part in April, a part in May, and the final part in June for the program. Okay, so if you want to take that option, it's also available. All right. On the launch hour series that we've been running for several months now, you can always visit our YouTube channel. The launch hour is live on YouTube. It is also live on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. So please feel free to visit our platform, scroll through our content and media, and learn a lot of things that we have covered in the past that you might have missed, or even if you didn't miss it, you want to be refreshed about them. Okay, so please take that opportunity now and be engaged and be fully connected with Max-Migold in our social media platforms. If you go to the website facilitymanagementcourses.com, that's our main website for all our training. So if you want to take an online course on anything from accounting to human resources to call center to Office, Word and Excel, emotional intelligence, leadership, supervision, administrative management, document management, and so on and so forth. We have a series of online courses, and they are not expensive. There are things you can pay with the equivalent of your monthly recharge cards, and you'd have gained that skill. And most importantly, a recognized, fully endorsed certificate from Max-Migold, which is highly respected in the industry. Okay, so I look forward to seeing more of you in that platform taking those online courses. We do have short courses in FM operations FM strategy, maintenance management, workplace productivity, and so on, project management, and so on and so forth, that you can also, just visit our website, register for any of these courses, and we have them on the calendar. We also provide all of our courses, both the ones we have in the online course, outline, the LMS, the learning management system, and the ones we deliver face-to-face and virtually, including the ones we have in the FM Mastercraft Diploma. They are all available for corporate booking. So you can invite Max-Migold faculty to come train your staff on your site. We don't charge too much. We don't charge too much. We only charge 750,000 naira per day, and we will train everybody in your team that you can assemble together for us to train per day. So if you have a 2 days training for 20 people, for example, that's 1.5 million, and that brings down the cost of training to just 75,000 naira per person. And that is something that comes with all of the knowledge, the skills, and practical experience shared by the facilitators, as well as the certification that will issue from Max-Migold to the individuals that you bring into the train. So it's a valuable, value addition to your employees, which will also spur more productivity if you provide them trainings where they earn certificates that they can be proud of themselves for in the future. All right, so that being said, I want to get into the topic for today. Leading people, not just buildings. FM Leadership Essentials. Effective facility management leadership is about inspiring and guiding people, not just maintaining buildings, to create productive, safe, and thriving environments. In essence, ladies and gentlemen, today we want to really answer the question, is FM all about just maintenance, sweeping, cleaning, operation of the building? And the answer at the end of the day, you will see, is a categorical no. We're going to flesh it out. I'm going to take a lot of time to flesh out that concept of people management. We know that the elements of facility management are people, place, and process. And we keep talking people as the core, right? But when we get back to work, we think more of the assets, which is the place. Right. So, and sometimes we get overwhelmed by the processes. Oh, documentation for this and that. We'll need all of them. They all add up, right? The process, the place, even when you break process down and have technology as a fourth element of facility management, they all serve the first element, which is the people, right? So if you gain expertise and mastery of how to manage people, both the people you serve and the people you work with, to deliver the service to the others, they all form a team that you as facility manager must be able to lead. Okay, you must be able to lead. So there's a difference between leading and managing. We'll talk about them as well, and we'll move into that mindsets of how we can become the individuals that people listen to, that people like, that people want to follow because they feel inspired by the way we work and relate with them, right? So that's the whole idea. After this session, you should be able to understand the human-centered leadership role of facility managers, and then develop essential leadership and communication skills for team and stakeholder management. So you have that wider stakeholder that comes from, combines people you work with, the departments, people in other departments, not your departments, those above you, that you have to answer to, and even those outside the organization that you have to also answer to, right? In terms of regulators. So how do you, communicate? What are the steps you can take to ensure that you're not only, you're not just following the works, this is what should be done this time and I've done it, which is more mechanical or managerial, but you have gotten to the point where you master that, what would this person really need? What's in it for him? What's in it for me? How can I approach that conversation to always get a yes whenever I'm getting out? So that's very important to learn. We're going to be covering that as well. Recognize the importance of emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills in FM leadership. Sometimes we are so good at the job, good at observing ourselves. We don't even know how we impact our own outcomes. We don't know how we sound, how we look to people, how we do things that probably can elicit either positive or negative outcomes, right? So it's not so much about what you say. For example, like the popular radio jingle is how you say it. So we're going to learn about emotional intelligence, how you're able to recognize yourself in a crowd, see how you are perceived and see what impacts you are making, and how to make the necessary adjustment to have the right impact. Because if you're not having the right impact, you cannot influence. And then how to employ leadership principles to drive operational excellence and employee engagement. So those are the topics we're going to be covering. Facility managers used to be in a profession that just does maintenance. We just do cleaning. We do all of those physical buildings management steps. We first had to move that up to the level of strategic business partnership, right? But to do that, we had to first understand as facility managers that the organization that we serve are all made up of people, right? And until we understand the needs of each individual or each group of individuals in the organization, we really can provide them strategic support. And so we have to start learning about individuals, start learning about what departments want to achieve, and then we started moving up the strategic business ladders in the organization. And a lot of decisions that we take will be dependent on information, right? So for you to be that smart manager or influential leader, there must be something you know about your work, about your space, about just basically some level of mastery that's required from you. And then, of course, there are ways nowadays to go beyond providing air conditioning, electricity, and water to getting a sense of understanding of people's experiences. What do you really experience? If the AC is not working, and somebody says the AC is not working, the AC is not the problem, it's what the person is experiencing. I'm feeling hot, isn't it? Because it's possible for the AC not to be working, and then I provide some kind of directional windows, opposite directions that air begins to flow through. I have some kind of shade somewhere, I have a fan somewhere, and people don't even realize that the AC is not working. Really, it's not about the AC. It's about how I'm feeling, how I'm able to compose and then get my job done because I am not too hot. So we as facility manager must be thinking about workplace experiences. If somebody has to get up to ease himself or herself and has to walk like 70, 80 meters or even 1 kilometer, across or changing floors before you find a clean, usable toilet. What that means is that individual may have to cut down the number of times he gets up to go to the toilet because of that arduous process. And so that person will be sitting down there. You probably think the person is working, but the person's experience at that moment is pressure in the bladder. As facility managers, we must have that mind to be able to observe, look at the organization, observe, see people's seats, see their tables, see the posture in which they are working. That experience is very important. And then, of course, there are the issues of risk and compliance. Every business depends on facility managers to a large extent to keep the business running. So when you hear of somebody who is keeping the business running, the FM is actually one of the key persons who keeps the business running, because we create the enabling environment. And because we create the enabling environment, we are now moving that from just we provide the buildings and the services. So we understand our organizations. We know how to repackage our buildings to help the nation to meet its needs, and we know how to survive, resolve or provide the needs of those who are using the building. Okay, and while doing that, there are times when you need to be conscious. In fact, always you need to be conscious of all of those strategic risk factors, all of those renewals for certain permits, all of these checks, inspections, documentations that needs to be done to ensure that nothing is left unmanaged, nothing is left to chance, in the process of managing your facility. Yeah, so let's look inwards to talk about the teams that make up your organization, right? Uh, you have within your team as an FM multiple teams, right? So if I have a group of cleaners, group of technicians, project guys, and so on and so forth, I've created different teams. Within the organization, my several teams make up the team FM, right? And the perception of how team FM is seen, how it's perceived by other departments, what others feel is the value the FM department is bringing now needs to, something that I need to be conscious of as a leader in the FM in the FM space or the FM department, because I want to see how people are affecting themselves, how we as a team are affecting other departments, and so on and so forth. So what kind of collaboration will bring the kind of results? For example, the FM team might be so interested in energy savings. They're trying to capture data that shows that energy is actually coming down. But if they try to do this on their own without thinking about the other thing, people they are going to serve in the facilities, if you don't get their buying into it, you may just be busy trying to hit a target, and people just be undermining and undercutting that process by simply doing the opposite in actions. But if you buy their hearts and minds by connecting with them, creating a collaborative approach to that goal of energy efficiency, you are definitely going to have a result as quickly as possible. And then people will always say they can do everything you ask them to do or whatever they've promised, when they come on board, but you must keep training the team, keep coaching and supporting the team, okay? Which means you as facility manager or the head of that team cannot stop learning. So as you are doing this, they are not only learning the day-to-day steps to get things done quickly and cheaply to make the customer happy. They are also understanding what you understand as a strategic objective or goals of the organization. Your team should also share in that understanding because it affects the way they make decisions. It affects the way they act towards the customers that they're supposed to be serving, right? So it's important that we do that. And this applies to not just the department, but also the vendors who come to work. If you don't share this vision adequately, you will have people working at cross purpose, trying to do what they think is best, but because they don't understand the long-term unified outcome that is expected of everybody, might begin to become the ones who are sabotaging that process. Act as a communication bridge between technical staff and leadership. When your team feel that you are part of them, they feel that you are one with them, they feel that you are connected with them. Yes, they will listen to you. But you also want to make sure that you are fully aligned with management. You share the vision and goals of management to the team and create systems or processes or just enabling environment for them to understand and have buy-in. Once they have this, when you now begin to represent the staff to management already sees that this is exactly what management wants to create. An environment where people at the shop floor understand management philosophy, understand management direction and strategy goals, and are acting in their own little ways in line with that expectation of management, right? So you will no longer have too much conflicts to manage when it comes to the relationship between junior workers and top management. Strategy thinking and decision making. This is what helps you to, one, look ahead, two, work in a structured manner to solve problems, remove impediments and bottlenecks that prevent you from, arriving at that future destination you set for yourself. All right. So it's important as facility managers, we don't just do things anyhow. We don't just, I know it's strict sense, strict wisdom, common sense. We all talk about these things. And so when it's a problem, we just, throw out a solution as quickly as possible. But once you start practicing strategic thinking and decision making, You use a structured model of reasoning to arrive at conclusions. For example, you might be discussing situations and you will decide, somebody who is doing more strategic thinking and decision making will start making a list, right? From the list, start prioritizing. After prioritizing, start evaluating each line item for relevance to the issue at hand. Then start gathering information or data that will help you flesh out the information you need to analyze what you just outlined, and so on and so forth. There are so many ways to just set up simple, uncomplicated approaches to getting to better answers, better decisions at the end of the day. Now, if you do this, you will see, you will almost begin to feel like someone who can see into the future, right? You'll be more proactive. You'll be able to take decisions that may not be only for today, but will be for tomorrow, right? You'll be acting in ways that provides answers that fulfills today's needs and also fulfills the future requirement, because you are looking at long-term. You have a destination and you understand the destination of the organization. That's what helps you create your own destination to align, to help the organization get to where it should be. All right. So using data and trends to anticipate future operational needs makes you a very proactive facility manager. And that also dovetails into risk management, right? So if you evaluate risk, we're going to do this. What are the chances that we're going to fail? What are the likelihood that we will not be able to do this and that and that? What do we need? What is risk that we'll be able to get what we need, and so on and so forth. If you are able to do that evaluation using the standard structured risk management approach, where you get the probability and the severity or frequency and impact, like we put it, and then you give them appropriate grades and do them up to arrive at the risk level, then you are following a structured approach to decision making. And this is what we refer to as innovation, forward thinking, right? Because you actually are using the information available to you to extrapolate into tomorrow's requirements. That makes you super efficient and effective. So we work with people, and we keep talking about FM is not just about the brick and mortar. We need people to do virtually everything, whether it's to approve funds for us to spend or to run the errands and do the job that we want done, and so on and so forth. You must be able to communicate and influence people. Communicate helps you create a common basis of understanding, because communication is two ways. If you want people to start thinking in a particular way, you start communicating with them in such a way that they begin to think in that way, right? And then once that happens, they will act independently to get the results that is leading you to the direction of where you have set your vision for your department and your organization, right? So they'll be acting independently. You are no longer the one acting on them. You're no longer the one having to tell them what to do. They will be acting, but at that point, your influence has been established. So they are not able to act under that influence, even without interference from you. But this starts with an approach of communication that clearly helps people to see goals, plans, and expectations. If I have to clean a room, for example, I probably don't know why I'm cleaning the room. I know that the room should be clean, right? But I should have some inkling into the health implication, the particular customer I'm serving, how important that person is, the expectations or the things that person really prefers, right? Those are the kind of things that give me that edge. When I'm not cleaning, I'm not using that understanding to clean. If I clean with that understanding, I definitely will clean better. And at the end of the day, the user will feel more satisfied, because I would have applied some things from my understanding of the person's unique situation or personality. Clearly conveys goals, plans, and expectations to diverse stakeholders. You must understand your various stakeholders and know how to communicate with each one. Build trust through transparency, consistency, and active listening. We're still talking about active listening, but it's very important to uh, build trust, not just with all those you work with, vendors and in-house teams, but also with your customers. When there's in an environment of suspicion, they always suspect the worst. And that is not what you want, right? So don't allow doubt to now lead to suspicion, that now lead to countermeasures that will, at the end of the day, it may turn out that this was not your intention in the first place, and then it's already boomerang. Just because you're not communicating through transparency, consistently releasing information that is required for them to understand where you are going and all that. Okay. Every time you communicate, you must ensure that you know what you want to get done. Communication not so much about what I want done for me. If I want someone to always take a shower, for example, you might say, well, because I'm close to the person smells, or when if you notice that person is smelling in the public, it has a negative connotation on me because I'm a boss or I'm a family member or whatever, right? But whatever that is, I want that person to have a sense of what is the need for him, right? Why should you have a shower? Not because of me. Even though there are things I will gain by you having a shower, my communication will focus on what you will gain from having a shower. Because that's the only way I can influence your action and your decision. If I keep talking about me, when I'm trying to talk to you, I'll be creating dissonance or disconnection, basically. I'm not supposed to be in that conversation. It should be about you. And that also exposes the fact that if people, know that you care, they will care about what you are telling them. So that's reciprocity comes out of you being able to communicate about them, what they are getting, right? And then once that kind of communication exists in the organization, there'll be more collaboration. There'll be more collaboration. There will be no withholding of information, no silos creating blocks, protective shields. There will be no, watching one's back and all that. We'll tend to, throw ideas in, reason it together. It will be easy to reach conclusions as a group because we are not hiding anything. We are openly communicating with one another. And this will strengthen your leadership presence by aligning communication with strategy goals. You basically communicate more to drive people's mind to what the end result will be all the time. And then they will roll from there. As facility managers, one of the things that makes us look inefficient, not organized, is time management. Prioritization is always the problem. So we may end up leaving the human aspect of our work undone, like saying thank you when somebody tells you of a problem, giving feedback when you solve somebody's problem to close the loop, remembering to do certain things because you remember the people and the pain they are having, right? Not just because you have to do it as a job. The connection that starts with people are suffering because they need water should be more, it's a stronger motivation to go and fix the plumbing issue than the building has no water and this plumbing issue has to be fixed and it's my job to fix it. You see, there are two different things. And because you are trying to organize your time properly, you will see that when you prioritize based on people, care for people, you will use resources and time more judiciously. Of course, there'll still be reactive jobs where you didn't capture everything and people have to call it, but you'll see more and more productivity coming out of your prioritization to do things more proactively. I talked about system thinking, decision making. it's connected to problem solving. You have different kind of issues that crop up in your facility, and the most obvious approach is to find a palliative or remedial or short-term solution. That's what is often most obvious. But if we analyze data related to any issue and gather inputs from those who are seeing the situation, experiencing the situation, or observing the situation, not just from our own mind, we may end up with more ideas than the one that comes to us, obviously. I dare say that whenever you're attacking a problem or an issue, the first thought that hits you is not often the right or the best solution. It might be the right, but not often the best solution, right? So planning carefully, looking at the alternatives, other pose ideas will help you to analyze properly and come up with something that works. Develop creative solutions under pressure. Facility managers will always face this pressure. And it's easy to sink into this blame game and this victim, not my fault, I didn't have money for this. People didn't respond to me on time, so I couldn't act, I couldn't do this. It's easy to sink into all that, right? But we're trying to avoid that. We're trying to create a system, put it in place so that you use that to analyze and think quickly, to act. So you're no longer a victim. It helps you to see ahead and put things in place to avoid, prevent, mitigate the kind of problem that you would have complained with excuses about later. And then people must work together, right? It's important to know how each person is, what strengths and weaknesses are, what they can do best, so that you can harness those strengths in putting together a team. But again, a supportive environment is the one that not only you that supports, but each person in that environment, they work with each other, they support each other, they hold each other's hands. Of course, there will be times when you find people who don't want to pull their weight in the team. They don't want to add their own bits. They want to conserve their own energy and their ideas for whatever reason. Of course, they are hurting themselves. I can assure you of that. Once a team is openly expressive, is easily collaborating, they achieve a lot more as a team. They also grow and become better individually in that kind of team. Of course, there will be conflicts. Constructive conflicts are the easiest. They're often related to the work, ideologies, about how to get things done, and these are easy to resolve. But there are some conflicts that are really difficult, personality issues, some negative hidden agendas in some people's minds. Even at that, as a leader in your team, do not overlook such innuendos or tendencies that might come to disrupt work in the long run. So deal with conflicts. Now, we might have been talking about leadership to the extent of, some people might get it wrong that once you're a leader, you don't punish people, you don't set people straight, you don't do anything harsh or all of those things. But point is, even while you are still being nice and fair and supportive and open and engaging and connecting and influencing, inspiring people, you must also be able to set clear expectations and individual responsibilities, and make sure there is accountability, a proper way of recording again. So if I give you this task and these are the steps and the milestones I expect done at these times, for example, I create that tracking system that I use to measure whether you are doing or you are not. Now, so combining the two I set a vision, you confirm that you understand it, influence your thinking, help you grow by training and coaching and mentoring and all of those supportive approaches. Then I haven't done all that. I must still demand accountability for, right? I would encourage proactive problem solving and decision making, give you some free hand to get the job done, but performance metrics must be in place. So when you see managers or leaders who can't really get people to do things, even though they like the people and people like them very well, but yet nobody tends to be able to do a lot because you don't have performance metrics to track progress and results. We created a culture of trust where team members own their roles and outcomes. That's what we build from influence. But you balance that with a system in place for tracking individual accountability for the results they're supposed to get. Self-awareness and self-regulation and mindfulness. We use all of these things to describe practices that help you observe yourself, like looking in the mirror. You probably think in a particular way, think about yourself. When you look in the mirror, you have a perspective, that everybody sees about you. Being able to now transfer that physical, that's me, to your emotional, your intellectual, to your spiritual dimensions in life, where you can actually look at yourself mentally, observe your own thinking relative to what is happening around you, how you are reacting. Then at that point, we say you are becoming more mindful. And that helps you to move to the next stage of empathy, where you now begin to see your own uniqueness and observe the uniqueness and individuality in all those around you to be able to accept varying thoughts. There are some organizations where the leader or the head cannot stand a junior employee challenging him with information that he probably thought differently, but could be wrong based on this feedback, to look like rude or insulting, right? So people have different backgrounds, tribal, cultural, whatever background they have. We all have programming, that will bring, into the work environment. Once, as a leader, you recognize that, do not throw back the same kind of reaction to everybody. Be culturally aware. We have a flexible approach to to handling everybody's situation and give them a sense of belonging. It is that culture of trust, that positive mindset that we want to have in place, where everybody feels a need to contribute, to do something useful because they see value in what they are doing, because they see value in what the entire organization is trying to do together. Okay. So that starts with open communication, transparent, open communication, consistency in actions and decisions, where if you decide on a matter, when Mr. A was affected, if Mr. B is affected by that same matter, your decision should be the same. There should be nothing like favoritism, all kinds of ism, nepotism, tribalism, whatever it is. And then when people contribute, recognize those contributions, help them feel that upliftment. They've done well. They must feel it. They must see that they have grown, right? And then, of course, you want that positive culture to start from you, leading by example. So all that we have talked about, think about it in terms of your staff. I can apply all this, which means I can show inspiring leadership, influence, and still hold them to accountability while building teamwork and collaboration within my team. I now see myself as a player in a wider team of stakeholders, external and internal again, right? Where I want to contribute, I want to see clearly where we are going. I want to observe data and create analysis that helps me to make proactive decisions and contributions to where we are going. And be the likable person to others who have to make decisions that affect your business and affect your department and your life. Every now and then, you have to win over bosses, boards of directors, to support an idea. Sometimes it's even a mandate they gave you to go and, see what work on the feasibility. You still need to come back and sell it to them and say it's feasible or not, right? Ensure that you don't take such communication, especially presentations, formal presentation, you don't take them lightly. You rehearse, you practice, but of course you must have gathered your data, right? And make presentations that will strike the right chord. At the end of the day, I want to start every presentation with, what do I want my listeners to do? That's my thoughts, right? That should be the end result. That's the whole reason why I'm doing this presentation in the first place, right? But while I'm thinking of that, I'm now structuring a presentation, a way I will talk, a way I will present each fact, and how I will make the facts and the points I'm going to lay flow from one to the next, to the next, to the next, until I get my audience to fully buy in and commit to what I want them to do. Now to active listening. We talk about communication, and we are almost mistaken by thinking of communication in terms of what we give, how we package, how we discuss, how we make people friendly to us, how we are cheerful, verbal and non-verbal communication. It almost sounds as if you are always doing when communicating. Sometimes you don't do. You communicate a lot just by being an active listener, because it ensures full understanding before responding in the first place. People often start fixing problems that don't exist because they did not listen well to understand what the problem is. And to be able to listen well, you must have asked a series of questions to draw out more information, elicit more clarification, fleshing out the information already given, and providing some context, additional circumstantial, anecdotal information that helps to strengthen what has been said previously. Then you have a better understanding, and then you can now say, use the structured problem solving, system thinking, decision making approaches we talked about earlier on to give feedback. Just dotting, scenarios, creating a correlation and rehearsing it back to the person who is talking to you after you have carefully listened might just be all the person needs. Clarity. The results, the solution will just give the person. So that you may not even get to the point where you now have to say, I think you may not even get to my I think. Just helping the person to piece everything together, because you are really trying to listen and understand and arrange it. Once that is done, the person will just have, a eureka moment where the idea that's eluding him all along drops in and is able to act. In some cases, you ask, so, what options are you considering? Which do you prefer among these options? One or two such questions will bring more clarity again to that individual who's trying to, get something out of you, and the person might have the solution he's looking for. Many times the things we have researched, the solutions we find to problems, the needs we want to satisfy, opportunities we want to take advantage of, all lead to us trying to create some form of change or the other. And this change is often not only going to affect us, because we can't act in silo. We have to act in consonance with others. And we want them to also apply this change in their own operations of their lives, right? So how do we go about it? We've talked about how to communicate vision clearly and tell people the end result, the long-term goal, the big picture overview of why, right, we are doing what we are doing. But if you get people to be involved, get their buy-in early, it will reduce resistance. So I'm not just going to start trying to show you what the vision is for the future. I want to work with you to craft that vision first. It is easier for you to work with me to get to that vision when you see that you were part of deciding what that future vision is. Sometimes we make the mistake of coming up with the ideas and then trying so hard to sell it. Why don't we just lay the problems, opportunities, or needs on the table and brainstorm with those we will eventually sell the idea to come up with the idea together. Once we come up with the idea together, the selling has been done more than 90%. Of course, trading is required. You being personally committed to whatever future that you have planned together is very important. And the monitoring and tracking for progress is also very key to this process. When you serve in facility management roles, you tend to, and then you begin to move away from just being building centric, machines, engines, spaces, how to fix this and fix that. Start moving more to higher order considerations of people and what they want to achieve, what they're trying to produce, which needs your help to propel them, to enable them. You begin to see that you are more and more getting more and more aligned with organizational values, organizational strategic objectives, and so on and so forth. Because you are no longer thinking about, not so much about the how and what, but more on the why. If you focus a lot on the why, reasoning at a very high, level logically, where you understand the end game, the what and how they are subordinated, they tend to sort themselves out. You are better at producing the options, the best results, taking the right steps and actions to produce the result that will help achieve that long-term goal. Okay. To align facility management operations with organizational value, ensure that you integrate core values into your daily operational policies and procedures. It's not at a certain level. You start teaching children how to live a principled life. They should start out learning from the basic day-to-day interactions you start with them when they're children. Same applies with employees. The day-to-day activities are what builds up into higher level decisions that leads to the outcomes that we expect. So the values must be built into those. And then, of course, promoting sustainability and ethics in facility management practice. This helps to remove all of those wastes that come from ethical violations, loss of integrity, loss of asset, loss of property, loss of resources, and so on and so forth, and build sustainability into our operations. If you run a very tight, efficient FM operation, both in cost and resource deployed, and you are effective in focusing on the end result or the goals of the organization, you will always be getting yes answers to the approvals you seek. Then, of course, we talked about the risk and the safety compliance earlier on. We must show commitment to protecting everybody, protecting the assets, the reputation of the organization. And then we need to encourage the staff to have behaviors that mirrors organizational culture and values. Of course, performance metrics is what ties everything in. That's the only way you know whether you're actually doing well or you're not. But every situation will not be the same. And that's why, as leaders, we can't say this is what I am, this is how I am, this is how I behave, this is how I will always behave. No. If we do that, we will be that person who probably does very well in one team. You were in a mall and you were a superstar, everything was working fine. You are now moved to a hospital and everything falls on its face on you, right? So you don't know exactly what happened because you didn't know how to adapt your leadership styles to different situations. So FM must assess the context, which is the circumstances we are working around, challenges around us, and also the team needs before choosing a leadership approach. There are some teams that their level of maturity is so high that you can simply just give them an assignment to act, like get it done. I don't need to know. There are some that you need to really be involved as a coach, step by step. If you move from one team that is highly evolved, very high level of maturity, where, you know, before you even say it, they're already thinking it. They already have the ideas that is coming up in your mind. If you have worked with them with, oh, get it done, no problem, no questions asked, and you now move to a team that is not that mature, where they still expect to be handheld, coach, mentored, shown the way, given guides, step-by-step guides. If you go and apply your approach to the first team and you come into this team and use that same approach, you will see that everything will fall on your face. They'll just simply either not do or do something very badly and blame it all on not being guided. Okay. So use a directive style during crisis or when quick decisions are needed. Apply supportive style to motivate and empower experienced teams. Be flexible and open-minded to shift strategies as situations evolve. And balance authority with collaboration to build trust and drive results. You can't just give away your authority because you want to be nice. You want to be that good leader who everybody likes. No, 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 no. You have to have a balance between being firm, using the metrics to assess, and then actually actively enforcing whatever is the result of that performance you've assessed. If somebody does very well, praise, rewards. Didn't do very well. If there are predefined penalties or punishment, do not fail to apply them. Set clear goals to guide development and measure progress. Provide regular constructive feedback to support continuous improvement. Listen actively to understand challenges and then offer relevant guidance. Encourage people to reflect, to practice self-reflection so that they can build awareness and then foster a growth mindset by supporting learning and resilience. In all of this, you're moving your team from one maturity level to the next. They should also have a sense of a career ladder, opportunities for them in the future. So let there be a hierarchy and a path up. It should be clear to everybody, even the persons at the shop floor. Cleaner, 19, 20-year-old cleaner who's not gone to university, for example, should be thinking about doing her work or his work in a way that will, gain certain skills and knowledge over a certain period of time and aspire to move from one position to another position in the organization. Succession planning not only secures the future leadership of every organization, but it also makes people feel a sense of belonging because they know that there's a pathway up. That pipeline is very important. Very, very important. Encourage people to learn from each other often through job rotation. Someone below can take an opportunity to serve in a higher position when that person is on leave, or even do back-to-back with somebody who is more experienced to gain more knowledge about that role, to increase more vertical empowerment for that individual. So FM, our job is not just about buildings. We don't just manage facilities, we manage people. And that's the whole essence of today's lunch hour. I hope you've had a good time. I would pull back now the attendance and see who has a question. Let me see who's in the session. If you're in other platforms, I'm talking directly on Zoom, but I know we are on LinkedIn, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, or anywhere else where broadcast is allowed. So if you're in any of those platforms and you have a question, please ask. If you have a question and you don't want to ask us, you can ask it directly at our group.
I have.
Okay, please go ahead. Let's hear it.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for the insightful message.
You're welcome.
Now, my question is this.
Yeah.
Now, I have a boss who believes in your discharge of duties.
Yeah.
And wherever he finds out lapses, he engages you for discussion so he can make an improvement.
Good.
But then the irony there is this. When he gets a report from somebody based on somebody of the same level, based on company organogram, he sticks to that without telling you and uses that against your appraiser.
No.
How
No.
do I do?
No, that's a problem. So what I hear is that there will be situations where uh, items are not discussed, right?
Yes.
Before it is acted on. No, that's not very effective. What you can do as an investor, if you're on the receiving end of that kind of reaction, is you be very aware. Try and be aware. Try and
Okay.
ask questions, right? So sometimes some bosses will come to you when they find out you've done something wrong. Sometimes they will selectively hold back some. If that happens, your frequent feedback, how am I doing, might pull some of that information out for you. So don't wait
Okay.
for him to always come to you. Every now and then when things are even okay, just go and say, how am I doing this? How am I doing that area? Some things will come out, okay?
Okay.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes. Can the material for the lecture be available? You will need to watch the videos again and again. We've not started that scheme of sending out the training materials. We want to start an email series where we will process everywhere that registered for the FMM for the launch hour. We started doing that registration at some point, but we didn't continue it. So we might have to do that. We have people who subscribe for the launch hour, and then we'll set up an email series where we'll take each of the topics we've addressed, create a blog post with it, send the slides along with it, and a link to the video again to go and watch it. And we'll run that series over time. We've not started it, and something we're thinking about. So, Kayode, yes, that's an answer to your question. Yes, but not now. Okay, we'll soon be there. Okay, thank you, everyone. And thank you for being here. I look forward to see you again next week, Thursday, 1 p.m. for another exciting episode of the FM Lunch Hour. It's me again, Paul Erubami, and see you again next week. Bye.